Welcome, fight fans, to the Pugilist Place. I'm Lawrence Mejia. Today, we are so very lucky to be here with undefeated prospect Ty Tomlin out of Ashland City, Tennessee. Ty, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Like I said, I appreciate you giving us your time. The first thing I want to ask you about is your nickname. So,
Right.
in doing a little bit of research for our interview here, I was looking at some interviews that you've done, and your nickname, short fuse. I imagine somebody that's very short with with their words, very serious. You're a very articulate young man. You seem
Well,
like you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
It it is clear, and you seem like you would be a college student, maybe majoring in communication or public speaking.
Mhm.
Tell me, how did you get that nickname?
Well, it came from my amateur career, actually. Anytime I'd be in a fight, anytime I was sparring, anything like that, getting some work in, I got caught with a clean punch, and you would just see something light up in my eyes, right? And I would just come forward. Not always a good thing, by the way. Sometimes that would get the best of me when I was younger. Starting to control that a little bit, use it to my advantage. But I'd always hear from my dad, from people watching my fights, like, oh, you got a short fuse. So that's just something that kind of stuck with me. Like I said, obviously through my pro career, starting to control it, use it like a controlled rage in a way. But like you said, outside of the ring, you would never expect that. Just I'm a chilled out guy, easy to deal with. But inside the ring, I'm totally different. Obviously, that's how it comes out of me.
And as you mentioned, what you call it, controlled rage.
Mhm.
That's I think that's a very strong key to success in the ring, to be able to control that rage, as you say.
Absolutely. You can't just go in there with that blind rage and then all of a sudden your punches are wild. You're not landing. You're burning your cardio. Boxing's a very mental sport, so you can't just go over the top. You got to use it to your advantage.
You're from a small town in Tennessee, Ashland City, which just so happens to be the hometown of world champion Caleb Plant, by the way. Talk to me a little bit about growing up in Ashland City and what being from there means to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. The high school rivalries kind of deal. Everything you would expect it to be. Then you mentioned Caleb. That's actually who I started with when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I was just a little short, fat, nerdy kid, right? And working with Caleb's dad, Reggie Plant, and then growing as an amateur, moving to a couple of different coaches and whatnot when gyms would close down. Then eventually, me and my dad actually started. My dad became my trainer of me and my brother. So we worked our way up, won lots of state, regional, national titles and whatnot. But being from such a small town with such a close knit group community, it means a lot, especially when you have success. The crowds come from these towns and they follow you and support you. It's really awesome to see.
Fighters remind me a lot of rappers. Like rappers always say, like, I'm putting my city on my back or put them on the map. And you guys are the same in that you guys develop that following and you really embody whatever city you're from in a similar way, to me anyways.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a lot of where I get my attitude from, of being calm, easygoing, humble, just all around good guy. Just because the community I come from is the same way.
And so I understand that you came to the sport of boxing as a means of preparing for MMA. That was like your original goal, right? So my question to you is, when did you discover that it was boxing and not MMA that what you wanted to pursue going forward?
Yeah, I think I figured out pretty early. Going in the gym, we wanted to get our hands right, so our hands would be good. So when we got old enough, we could compete in MMA. I think maybe a couple amateur fights in, that's when I realized I was probably going to stick with it, just because I was slowly starting to figure out more about it and falling in love with it. I had no intentions to want to join a wrestling team and get good at wrestling or start working on my kicks. I started throwing punches and fell in love with it, and I've stuck with it ever since.
What's your earliest boxing memory?
Earliest boxing memory, probably the first time I sparred, just because that's was so crazy to me, just getting in there and fighting somebody for no reason, right? At the time, you don't understand how important it is, practice and everything else. But I got my butt kicked. Good Lord. Another one is actually probably first boxing memory is after my very first boxing practice. I remember it. Caleb Plant's dad, Richie Plant, he was a coach, and he wanted to make sure you took the sport seriously, right? So you go through, you do your hour, 2 hour practice or whatever, go through all your drills. And at the very end of practice, he lined all the new students up in a row, right? And he put on one boxing glove on his left hand, and he just gave just a nice hard body shot and just dropped all of us, just dropped us. He's like, okay, like if you come back after that, then like I'll teach you. And I came back, and here we are 12 years later out in Vegas together a couple weeks ago.
Incredible. So how did you react to that? I mean, were you thinking to yourself, like, what the heck am I doing? I just got dropped.
Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. My dad thought obviously Richie was crazy, and I'm sitting here. Body shots, you know how a body shot is in boxing. You know, that being one of the first shots you take is definitely eye opening. Like, man, do I really want to be doing this?
But I'm sure it just set up some spark deep within you to want to persevere. Oh
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know, it just opened up so many different things, and just been running with it ever since.
How long have you been boxing for?
I've been doing it for 12 years now. So started at 9 or 10 years old. I'm 21 now.
So fighters fight for whole sorts of different reasons. Some it's for competition, some it's for fame, some it's for money. Why do you lace up the gloves and fight?
Yeah, definitely. Just it's something I've been doing forever. It's my community. It's my family. Opportunities to not only better my own position for, you know, what everything, but everybody around me. And obviously just the love for the sport, you know, being young and being able to pursue something that I love is really big to me. And I preach that to a lot of people. Just do what makes you happy, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. Wise words. And you're, like you mentioned, you're 21 years old. You have so much the world is available and open to you. If you weren't a boxer, what would you be?
Man, I question that all the time, honestly. I definitely think I would be like a business owner and try to be building that up right now. I've always been somebody that takes risks. Especially in boxing, right? It's such a risky sport. My mom did not love that. She wanted me to go to college, get a job, just do the safe route. And here I am pursuing my professional boxing career. And I also think I was sick with that high risk, high reward, and start some kind of business. I'm not sure what kind necessarily, but maybe after boxing, we'll find out.
Well, then that's right. And I'm sure, you know, you're obviously very intelligent. I'm sure you would be successful in whatever you were doing. I
appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I understand you're promoted by Lou DiBella, correct?
I am.
So Lou DiBella is somebody very notable in the sport of boxing, a Harvard law graduate, somebody that was a former HBO exec. What does it mean to you to be promoted by someone like Lou DiBella?
Oh, absolutely. It means everything. You got a guy that has such a storied history in boxing, putting his name behind you. Not only does that bring you a ton of confidence, but just a name recognition and everything, you know, him putting his stamp of approval on you and just moving you up throughout the ranks. You know, we had a long talk when we first started working together about what my career might look like. And we've been sticking to that exact plan. And Lou's just a great guy, very intelligent. And I can't wait to continue my work with him. It's been great.
So you're undefeated, you're 11-0, and I'm sure there were a lot of promotional companies coming and inquiring about you and your services. What was the selling point that compelled you to go with Lou?
Yeah, there were a couple reaching out, definitely. But like you said, the storied history of Lou DiBella, all the champions he's had, all the big fights he's put on, seeing all of that and throwing my name into that mix was something we wanted, and it was just an easy choice for us.
Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Caleb Plant.
Yeah, definitely. Being from the same town, obviously seeing him in the gym when I was working with his dad when I was really young, then it all kind of coming together, you know, in our pro careers at Bridgestone Arena when we got to fight on the same card. And then just recently when we went out to Vegas, we got to go work at his gym, get some pointers from their team. And I just think it's really cool how we both start in this small town in Tennessee and end up on these big stages like we are. That's what we were cracking jokes about in Vegas, just all two Tennessee boys from the sticks, you know, making their own way in life. It's pretty cool to see.
There must be something in the water.
Hey, something in the water around here for sure.
What's the best advice he's ever given you?
Best advice? Man, there's a lot of good ones. just this past time we were out there was about a 10-15 minute period where it wasn't any just strict advice, but we were just sitting there going over different scenarios in the ring. And that's probably the best thing we've gotten, just sitting there going over, working jabs to the body, what you're going to do after that, setting up feints, just all very detailed things, and getting it from such a high level guy, world champion. And a very pivotal point in my career is something I would definitely look at for a long time.
As you know, there's been a lot of talk about the ongoing negotiations between Canelo Alvarez. And would be a tremendous fight. And Plant is a fine fighter, and he would, if the fight's made, he would open up as an underdog against Canelo, who is thought by many to be a pound for pound great right now. How do you think would Caleb Plant would beat Canelo? What would be his best path to victory against Canelo?
You definitely have to use his boxing. When I was just up there recently, man, he did look sharp. Caleb looked sharp. So I think he would have to use his boxing and his smarts. Obviously, you can't get into Canelo's fight. That fight with Billy Joe there for a minute, when Billy Joe was fighting his fight, he was giving Canelo some frustrations. But there towards the end, he started taking a couple shots, and Canelo just took over. So you have to be on your A game the whole time. You have to use your boxing. You have to use your footwork. Put together a perfect fight to beat somebody like Canelo. But I think Caleb's mentality, he could do that.
You're exactly right. Those middle rounds were interesting, and until Canelo broke his face.
Yeah, literally broke his face.
And it was over. So who are your favorite fighters, both past and present?
Oh, man, there's so many. Somebody I feel like it's past, but he's still going strong. Manny Pacquiao, he's going to fight this weekend, right? Just all the top guys. Obviously, Caleb's a big one for me. Somebody like Canelo, he says pound for pound. You're watching all the Sugar Rays and Arturo Gattis of the world. Anybody I can take anything from, all the greats, I want to. I have no ego about my own skills, anything like that. Anything I see that works, I'm going to take it and put in my arsenal, right? So all of those guys, I'm just going to continue to watch, continue to pick apart and take things from.
It's very encouraging to hear that you're a student of the game, because that's how you improve.
Absolutely.
And speaking of improving, your next opponent will be Ira Terry on August 28th. He will be the most experienced opponent that you've faced so far in your career. What do you know about him, and how do you beat him?
Yeah, definitely. He's got so much experience, so you never know how he's going to come to fight, right? He's got so many different styles, different things he can do in the ring, seen so many different styles. So I've seen him fight before. I know he doesn't necessarily love pressure. So I've really been working on all of my skills. I've obviously beat a lot of guys with my pressure and power in the past, but my boxing in this camp has improved the most out of any of my other camps for sure. It's definitely the best version of myself. I'm going to come forward, use my boxing to apply pressure, not just brute force like I have done in some fights in the past, have been guilty of. But put all those things together and maybe mix a little defense in. I've got a lot of things I haven't shown people yet. I haven't had to. So hopefully him being an experienced guy brings out the best in me, and I can show everybody. Like, that's been a knock on me so far, as everybody questions my defense. It's there. I promise it's there. I just haven't had to use it to that extent just yet. So I hope he does bring that out of me so I can show some of these people.
And you mentioned that you're a heavy-handed fighter, and you got tons of knockouts already. I should say your knockout ratio is very high. And you've been working on defense in your training camp as well as other things. Talk to me about some of the fighters that you look toward in terms of modeling your defense after.
Yeah, I'd say guys like Canelo all the time, just because they do have that power, but they're patient with it. That's kind of what I'm working on, is the patience for my power, setting up those big shots, not just overwhelming guys, right? So right now I've been knocking guys out with volume and pressure, but I've got the power to have that one-punch knockout, just devastating knockout look. I just haven't figured it out necessarily. I'm close. I'm getting there, but I haven't figured it out yet. But there's multiple different fighters I watch and study on that. All guys at the top, obviously. There's that threshold right there where I'm at prospect level, and then I think that's kind of the next step for me.
Right. And you mentioned you're in Las Vegas for this training camp. I don't know how many times that you've trained out of Tennessee. do you foresee yourself as your career, you're ascending, you're going upward? Do you see yourself training more and more outside of Tennessee as you advance in your career?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've made trips to Tampa, Florida, and Vegas this camp. Got some great sparring in both places, but Vegas is, man, that's my first time going out there, and that is the pinnacle of boxing for sure. If I wanted to spar every day, I could get a top level guy every single day. So those are definitely things we're going to be doing in the future, moving some of our camps out there, even if it's only a couple weeks at a time. But when I was out there, I got sparred Andreas Cortez and then Sanjar. I'm not even going to try to say his last name, but Sanjar. He's with he's with Team Mayweather, but great sparring with them. Going to get me ready for this fight coming up, but definitely going forward, trips to Vegas for weeks at a time, sparring those top level guys, because it's only going to make me better the more I do it.
And it has to be exciting for someone like yourself. You know, you are a big fish in a small pond, and then to go out there with all those world-class boxers, it has to be exciting.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, it pulls the best out of you. You don't get to work on it all the time. Sometimes not the only time I'm going 100% in camp is when I'm fighting, but being able to go 100% all the time, you start to find 110, you start to find 120, right? So the more you get to work high level sparring, hard sparring makes for easy fights. So
certainly. And to somebody checking you out for the first time or just tapping into you and learning about you for the first time, how would you describe your fighting style?
Yeah, I'm definitely a big boxer puncher guy, but at the end of the day, pressure bust pipes, right? I go to the body, I go to the head. I'm a high volume guy. I'm going to make whoever I'm fighting fight my fight. But as I continue to progress, I'm going to fight better guys. I'm going to have to sit back. I'm going to have to use my jab more. I have a good jab. I hear that from everybody I work with, how good my jab is. I just got to really use it to my advantage. So sit back, work my boxing, go hard to the body, chop down that tree, pick it back up top, and hopefully knock some guys out here soon.
Something I think is really interesting about you, especially given how young you are, is that you are very dedicated to anti-drug campaigns. And with this country is currently undergoing an epidemic of opioid abuse. It's frightening and terrible and sad altogether. Why does that issue matter so much to you at 21 years old?
Yeah, it's just been a big problem in my community, and I've seen that in multiple instances, and I've actually had something happen in my family. My first cousin, he actually overdosed. We grew up together, and growing up as kids together, being in school together, then having that happen, I think is what really pushed that issue over the top for me. So I've just been trying to bring awareness to the issue for a while now. I want to get in schools and talk to the kids about these things and let people know it's not always bad people that get these addictions and these problems, because it's athletes, it's celebrities, it's everybody. There's a bad connotation between drugs and bad people. For some reason, that's not the case. And that's what I want to get across.
I think that's really good that you put it that way. It's not marginalized, bad people. It's unfortunately very mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So, so, kudos to you for shining a light on that. And I'm sorry for your loss and your family. It's
thank you so much.
So your next fight. So where can fight fans, are they able to stream this? Where could they tune in and check that out potentially?
Yeah, I believe TriStar Boxing. It's TriStar Boxing, and they're working with Dibella. It's like a co-promotion kind of thing. But TriStar Boxing should be streaming it through TriStar Boxing Elite Promotions.com or something like that. So you can get tickets there too. Obviously, we've got tickets on hand, and it's getting close to a sellout. I talked about how the crowds travel. The crowds are traveling to this one. So it's going to be the first inaugural event at the Oak Grove casinos that they just built out there. It's going to be a big crowd and a great night, and hopefully a 12th win.
And you're the main event, correct?
Yes, sir. Main event that night.
Congratulations. Is that your first main event?
No, I've actually been main event on almost every show since like my second or third fight.
Wow.
I've been on a bunch of them. So the pressure comes on at the end of the night, and I put my best work on then. So
it's old hat to you being the marquee fighter.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm used to being the marquee fighter, but I want to be the marquee fighter on some of these big cards, right? I want to be the marquee fighter Madison Square Gardens and MGM. So marquee fight with Oak Grove. It's definitely gonna be a great experience. But we're ready to keep on moving.
Certainly. Last question. What is the worst thing that you've ever bought?
Worst thing I've ever bought, man. That's a on the spot question right there. Oh, I don't even know where to start. Not even boxing wise, just in general.
In general.
I mean, I bought some horrible things. Oh, trying to think. I've got some horrible hats. We used to buy jet skis all the time. I bought some horrible, like, piece of junk jet skis, trying to fix them up and stuff. Some horrible shoes. I don't know if there's an exact horrible one. I think it's just like a collection of horrible things, right? Let me turn that back around on you. You got the question. What's the worst thing you've ever bought them?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. The worst thing, you know what? So first of all, I'm not the most, I'm pretty frugal, so I don't spend very much. I don't buy a lot of things.
I'm normally the same way, but I've made a couple of poor decisions in the past, right? There's got to be one, right?
Yeah, there's, I think it probably is more fashion. Like there's things I look back on and I'm like, ooh, man, like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking wearing that,
I feel like that's it. I feel like that's it for me too, because you buy something, say you buy it online, whatever, and then maybe you don't wear it and you look back and you're like, man, what was I thinking? Like, it's I've got a couple pairs of shoes that I bought that I don't know if it just didn't look right with the outfit or what, man, but they've been sitting on this shelf over here for a while now. I ain't even touched them. Just throw $100 and burn it, I guess.
It seems like it's always fashion. We're always throwing away money at fashion.
Right.
It's crazy.
Now, some people have some great stories for that. Unfortunately, I don't have one for that one.
So, thank you so much, Ty. I appreciate your time. It was great to sit down and speak with you for a little bit and get to know you a bit. Where can fight fans follow you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Great to meet you too. And thank you for having me on. All fight fans can go to my Instagram at _Ty Tomlin, my Twitter at _Ty Tomlin as well. And make sure to check me out on Facebook. I've got a lot of content on there at Tyler Shortfuse Tomlin. I've got my athlete page at that. And then obviously my regular page at Ty Tomlin. But I think I'm getting close to like the Max Friends thing on there. So, but make sure to check me out. Make sure to follow me on all these platforms, and make sure to cheer me on August 28th as we get back to hopefully a 12th win.
We look forward to you doing your thing on August 28th. And thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us.
Absolutely. Great to meet you. And thank you for having me on.
Take care.